Hey everyone, this is going to be a special interview. This is an interview I have been looking forward to doing for quite some time, and I just wasn't sure who was going to be first. Well, the good news is we have Paul. He is the first to sign up for the 75-day hard real estate challenge. He's about halfway through, and he agreed to get on with me and tell me what he thinks. So let's welcome Paul to the show. How you doing, man?
Hi, great. I'm doing great. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing all right. So why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, where you are in the country, what you're doing, and why did you decide to take this hard challenge?
So my name is Paul. I am just outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and I took this because I already have a few properties, and I never really buckled down to learn my market
Ah,
and really see where I was. So I never knew a cap rate or anything. I kind of just went in, made a couple mistakes, and figured before I moved forward to really, really see where I was before I kept buying properties and find myself in a hole.
very, very cool. So where do you buy locally?
I do. I have. I'm just outside of Elyria
Okay.
and Lorraine. They're the 10th and 14th biggest city in Ohio,
Okay.
which compared to your market is nothing because that is a 54,000 population and a 64,000 population. So smaller.
Okay. Very cool. All right. So let's kind of level set where we were. So how long you've been, I want to know, I want to get kind of figure out where you were day zero. So everybody understands Paul and the experience you brought. And then we'll talk about the last 35 days or so. So you've been
All right.
investing there for how long?
I bought my first property last August.
All
Well,
right.
the very end of August.
All right.
So
So call it a year, rough and tough.
about a year. Yeah.
Okay. Single family homes, I'm guessing.
All three are single family homes. Yes.
Okay.
Two of the houses are on one lot, so it was one deal, which was
Okay.
nice.
I like
Yeah.
those too. Very cool.
Yeah.
And just if you don't mind, what was the purchase price?
So the purchase price of the first two was $50,000.
Mhm.
Yes, I have a very cheap market, but as I'm learning, that was a mistake. We can talk about that later.
Exactly. Cheap
Yeah.
does not always mean good. All right. And then what's the rent? Just so we can get a rough.
One is renting for 550, the other for 575.
Okay. All right. Very
They
cool.
pay
So
all you feel. So
yeah. So some people listening to this, on paper, you're really close to what you would call the 2% rule, right?
right.
Right. But that
Yes,
doesn't always mean goodness, right?
exactly.
Yeah. So people that want to give me a hard time for cautioning people on the 1% rule, now let me caution you on the 2% rule. You have to learn your market. Yes, it is possible. Yes, it is sometimes good. But when you are sitting in a foreign state and you're in the area, Paul, right? If you're out in some
Yes,
other state and you see a 2% deal and just buy it because you are signing up for some pain in most cases, in my opinion.
definitely. Definitely.
Very cool. All right. So where did you see the 75-day hard challenge? Was it on YouTube or Facebook, or when did you see it from me?
On YouTube, I've been following you pretty much since the beginning.
Oh
I
wow.
think I
Okay.
found you through April Crosley's show,
Oh
and
yeah.
ever since then I followed you. So
Oh, okay. All
yeah,
right. So I put that out there for the first time. What about I don't know, 2 months ago, maybe?
I started about 3 weeks after you put it out. I was finishing up my second property. So
Okay. All
yeah,
right. And then what attracted you to the 75-day hard challenge?
it's like I said, figuring out my market and Lorraine, which is it's a different zip code, but it's neighboring to Elyria.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to really buckle down and learn that. So
Okay.
I think there's more opportunity there. So I wanted to buckle down and do this challenge to really, figure out Lorraine as well.
Right. So if you're wondering what the 75-day hard challenge is, there's an entire playlist. I'm actually going to put this video right on top, so it'll be in that playlist. You can check out all 8 requirements. When you looked at the 8 the first time, Paul, did one jump out at you as being harder than all the others?
Yes, and only because of the situation we're in right now.
Hmm.
Because networking through meetups right now is pretty tough.
Yeah.
So all of my meetups have been online, and it's not quite the same as when you were going to like a local area. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and that is if I remember the rules of the challenge, that's once a week, right?
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, you're gonna have to do remote or web-based today. It's really the networking aspect, right? You could still learn some stuff from the speaker, but the networking aspect is really diminished. So you're absolutely right. Hopefully we're past this soon and it becomes easier.
Right. Right.
So I've heard from others. Others have told me that the hardest thing for them is meeting one new person a day.
That would be my second. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be my second.
All right. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
So with what do I do? With the first 2 weeks were a little bit rough with that, especially on weekends. It's a little bit harder to contact people on weekends.
Hmm.
But what I've been doing after I do every Sunday, I do go over all my goals, go over all my steps that I've done and everything that I've done throughout the week. And I kind of look for people the next week. So I line up people that I want to contact.
Nice.
And I'll pick the people that I think are going to be more easily to contact on a Sunday or Saturday or Sunday. And I'll, put them there. So I'll contact them. Like real estate agents are easier to get a hold of on the weekends than, you can get a hold of them during the week, but
right.
Calling a bank is more, it's easier to get a hold of somebody at a bank during the week rather than the weekend.
That's smart.
So,
yeah, again, that's it. So we're going to just go randomly through the 8 things. So we've already talked about one, which is you got to go to a real estate meetup once a week. Today it'll be virtual. Hopefully, if you're watching this in 6 months, you can do it in person. The other one is you have to meet a new person a day in your market. And for most people, that will either be extremely easy for you or hard, in my opinion. If you're an extrovert, it'll be easy. You're just naturally oozing, talking to people. You can ask for referrals really easy. It doesn't bother you. For some people, that is going to petrify them.
Yeah.
Right. So what I would tell you is if you can get through the first 10 days, it should get easier. Because you just asked the person you talked to for 3 referrals. The other thing you could do is I met with somebody who's at day 30 yesterday, and he was having a hard time with that challenge because, again, it's a small market. And I'm like, well, you haven't met everybody. Stop giving me that excuse. You clearly have you met any plumbers? Have you met any roofers? Have you met any lawyers? No. Well, that could work. You grow your network, buddy. Let's go. Right. So don't think small, would be my opinion on that.
Yes.
Probably the easiest step, but also the most valuable step is step 1, right? Setting up your criteria and looking at it every day. How has that been for you?
That is the easiest because I was already doing that, not twice a day, but I was doing it every morning. I do that before work.
Nice.
Because I'm already set up through the MLS. I get emails every morning.
Nice.
So my criteria didn't change. It was already there. I just added another zip code.
Okay.
So
very cool. And what day are you at? What day is what is this, August 2nd?
It's August 2nd. I started this on the 22nd of June.
So let's call that your
I'm in the middle of week 6. So almost end of week 6.
All right. So let's call it day 40. Cool. So how has that been? I'm guessing that you've seen the market evolve in 40 days. You're really seeing it change, I'm guessing.
Yes, actually now we're starting to get a little bit more inventory on the market. It was really low there for a couple months, and the past, I'd say, even 3 weeks, we've really started to see people step up and start to get a little bit more comfortable and list their houses again. So
that's an
I'm getting about 10 more houses, in my criteria than I was 2 months ago.
Oh, people, you got to pay attention to that. We have an inventory problem in 90% of the markets. So watching your market every day, you're going to get the first glimpse that something is changing. I'm curious, are you seeing those houses come on at yesterday's prices, meaning decent, or are they being aggressive and they're pricing them $5 or $6 grand higher than you thought?
I think they're a little bit higher. There hasn't been a huge change because this market hasn't moved a lot. It's very small. It's pockety. There's some areas that everybody wants to live and they're extremely high, and then there's other areas like where I bought that are $40,000-$50,000 houses.
Just so I'm clear, what is extremely high? Because I think you and I have different variables.
Extremely high for my market, yes.
I'm just teasing. What is that?
Extremely high would be like a $300,000 house, and then you can go a mile away and buy a house for $50,000.
Yeah, that's 6x. Yeah, so that makes sense. Okay. All right. So that's interesting. This is all great data, and this is why doing the 75-day hard challenge in this market's important, because you could be the first person to see inventory change, and you're already seeing it, right? It's a little bit higher, and then a little bit higher, and a little bit higher. And when the supply, so first off, I would expect them to come on at slightly higher prices. Why? everybody and their brother is saying real estate is hot today, right? So those real estate agents are probably telling the sellers, time to sell, time to sell. Let's get that extra 2, extra 4, extra $6,000. So that makes perfect sense. That's going to go on until it doesn't work anymore. And then when supply meets, and I'm guessing will eventually exceed demand, that's when things will get interesting. I am curious about the market. Have you seen, I mean, I don't know if, because another part of the 75-day hard challenge is reading about the market 30 minutes a day. What have you read about the market in the last month or so?
So one of the biggest things that's going on that's going to help both of these markets is right off one of our main highways. There's about 104 acres that used to be an orchard. That's going to be a development, and they're bringing a lot of businesses in. That's going to add 200 to 400 jobs, depending on how the economy goes over the next couple of years. So
that's a commercial development.
Yes.
Oh, look at you!
That could add a lot. And there's a couple other areas that are actually still building housing developments. One right across from where I used to work. Okay. They're putting a big housing development in. So.
All right. The other thing, I think step 2 is getting comfortable with the numbers. Did doing the math and doing the yield that I talked about, did that change it all for you?
I understood it a lot better now. I track cash on cash return and cap yield completely separate because I run some properties through a Burr calculator and some through just a rental.
Okay.
It depends how bad the property is because I do have private lending, so I have used that already.
Nice.
And it kind of depends on what I want to do with that property to what calculator I'm running it through. Now my cash on cash return is close to like 18% in my market.
Oh,
but my yield is like a 7.4. So
yeah, those are very different numbers. Yeah.
Completely different.
Yeah. And again, for me, the yield's important because all these other calculations, some of them are out there just to confuse new investors. Some of them out there, they don't really answer the question of how hard my money is working, right? And I need to be able to compare. I need to be able to compare a clean turnkey house in a total dump.
Yes.
Right? Unless you use what I call yield, you really can't compare them, right? So that's why it's always been important to me.
Yes.
So I'm curious. You're day 42, let's call it. What have you learned that maybe would have helped you with that first deal? The 2-house deal.
I would have looked at a cleaner property because this property needed a lot of work. It still does need work. It was a complete slumlord property. It shouldn't have been lived in. Neither house should have been lived in. I got them at least up to code, and I've done
below code.
We're up to code. There was they didn't even have GFIs by sinks or in the bathrooms.
Oh my God!
So in the first 2.5 months, I dumped $18,000 into these 2 properties. Put new furnaces in. One needed a new hot water tank. The furnace was just hooked up to an on-off switch. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So it was a lot of work. I didn't have a team built yet. So I was calling people as I needed people.
Right.
Instead of having a team there and haven't been able to just be like, hey, so-and-so, can you come over and, quote me out on this?
Yeah.
So it was all on the fly.
Yeah. Very, very cool. So when you bought it, right, when you signed the deal, you're at the closing table, you wire the money, whatever it is. Did you expect to spend that $18,000?
I actually budgeted 20 and I've put more than that in down the road, but I budgeted 20.
All right. So it wasn't a total surprise.
No, I still would not have done that deal over again because it was a complete headache.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And it still technically has been a headache. So it's just not the area I want to invest in.
And I didn't ask early on, do you have a day job?
I do.
Yeah. And
so
you're doing all of this around that.
Yeah. Luckily I'm able to listen to your YouTube channels and other channels during my job. So I can just put my speaker on and listen while I'm working.
Okay.
So
very cool.
But I have a day job. I work full time and I do this and just started a YouTube channel as well.
Oh, cool.
So
Nice.
I have quite a few things going.
Well, what is the YouTube channel? Let's just give it a quick plug.
So before I got into real estate, it's actually called Give Yourself a Raise. And you can find me on Facebook, /Rinks Rentals. Yeah. And it's all about the way you can make money on your phone, really. All these, different bonuses, bank bonuses, high interest yield account, savings accounts. So I go over applications and how to use them. and, try to get people to use their phone as a tool rather than just playing on social media all day.
Well, very cool. Do me a favor, when we're done, send me a link and I'll add it in the description just so people
Awesome.
can
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So back to the challenge. What's been your biggest aha, and when did that happen?
Honestly, it was my yield. And
Ah,
that was my aha, because I was always looking at cap rate or not cap rate, always looking at cash on cash return. And I'm like, wow, how is my cash on cash return so different from my yield?
yeah.
And when you look at, especially for people, I would say out of state, looking at my market,
Mm-hmm.
and they would be looking at this like, wow, I can buy a house for $20,000 or $30,000, but you're buying in a C-D area that you're going to have problems all the time.
Right.
So especially being in a smaller market, I don't have as many options for property management.
Right.
So it's like I said, it's very pockety, and my aha was that just because of the fact that it was so different. And you can't just look at this market and think, oh, I'm going to make so much money. You're not. You got to know where to invest.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious, since you've owned that property, we'll just call it a year. Have you lost any tenants or evicted tenants? I mean, how's it been?
I have not had to
that's
evict
good.
anybody.
All right.
I really can't right now.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but I was
Good
behind
point.
on rent 2.5 months on one of them, and actually he ended up coming into some money from somewhere and paid me up. So I'm completely up to date in rent right now, which is amazing.
Nice. Now, were these tenants the original tenants you inherited, or did they have to leave?
Yes, I inherited, and that's something I'm not quite sure if I want to do going down the road either.
Yeah, because it's tough to remodel around tenants, man.
It is. That is a big problem too.
Were you able to raise rents?
I did. I raised rent 75 in one unit and 50 in the other.
And they stayed.
Yes, because that is still about 125 under market rent.
Oh, there you go. All right.
So, but I've improved the property, but it's still not perfect.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was a good in between, and they stayed because they know they can't go anywhere else and get cheaper rent.
Very cool. All right. So let's talk about the other thing that's in the challenge. You got to track your spending, right?
Yes.
How has that been?
That was easy. I stopped doing it for a while, but I already had a spreadsheet set up because I used to do that every single day. So I just picked up my old spreadsheet and added all of these other steps to the bottom of the spreadsheet too. So
cool.
that was so easy.
That was a layup. Well, how about then the other thing you have to do is you have to review it with someone.
Yeah.
How is that?
I go over this with people at work or my parents.
Okay.
So
oh, your parents are involved. Let's talk about that. That's cool.
Yeah. So
yeah, what's that been like?
Yeah, I talk to them about this almost daily, especially my mom. She's neither one of them. We weren't raised kind of like you. I wasn't raised in we didn't talk about finances in our house. Yeah. So I picked this all up about 3 years ago. I really started looking into real estate, and I changed my plans so much. They were very they're like, oh, he's not going to stick to this. It's just going to fall off.
Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah, because I do that. Also why I got out of the stock market, because I jump all over the place. Yeah. So this forces me to stay in, and now they're seeing that I'm actually really, really serious about this. So, and they talk to me about it all the time. They ask me questions as they might move out of their house as my dad's getting close to retirement. So, and finding something else, asking me what their house is worth, how, what can we sell it for? What do we need to do to get it on the market and stuff like that. Very
cool. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And then did you bother calculating what a need versus a want is in your spending?
Yes, I've kind of already been pretty frugal as far as spending. Okay. So, but I did notice as I started to track, I spend way too much money on food.
Ah, see? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing how it gets away from you sometimes.
Yeah, because I stopped tracking it for about 7 months, and then my food budget went up again. And this last house, rehabbing the last house that I bought, I ate out a lot more, stopped at fast food, which was horrible. I don't like doing it. But I was doing it to save time. Yeah. But yeah, it gets away from you when you don't track it, and you really see, you're like, I should not spend anywhere near as much as I do on food. And I just haven't. So
yeah, it's amazing. Everybody will find their thing. For me, it was actually books. I mean, I would, there for a time, I'm a horrible traveler, as you've heard on my many shows. but I would try to read to get by it. But I would buy a book at every airport, and then I'd read like, I don't know, however long the flight was, and then I would never pick the book up again. It's like, buy the book, finish the book. God damn it. You buy 1/3 the books. So anyways, crazy stuff.
But there's so many books free online now. Like, you
Yeah,
can just get free, even YouTube, you can find them.
yeah, when I was doing this, books weren't available on phones.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how old I am. How funny. So let's talk about who should take this challenge? Because that's really, I want people to take it. It's free, right? I don't charge you anything.
Yeah. Anybody that's really serious about getting into real estate, whether you're in the market already or you're investing out of state, I mean, you need to take this just to see where your market is and what truly, like, what you're looking for. Because you can wait till you get money and then start looking at the market, but you really don't know what you're looking at. You don't know if you have a good deal at your hand, and you're also going to be cautious about even offering a deal or what to offer when you already are looking at your market every single day. When a deal pops up, you see it pop up. I mean, I've already seen that. I've made a couple offers recently. I didn't get them, but when a deal pops up on the market. So
yeah, the whole goal of this 75-day hard challenge for real estate investors is to build confidence. That's all I'm trying to do. And I created the challenge before I knew we were going to be in this unusual market. I mean, the market we're in today is super low supply. So we as investors are being outbid by owner occupants, and they can just flat out pay more.
Yeah.
So it's okay writing offers and not getting them. So, anybody that's new to real estate investing, doesn't have a deal yet, I would tell you, take this challenge, run it the rest of the year, because we have an inventory problem. And until that gets more balanced, don't risk it, right? Don't jump into a deal because it's cheap, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And even if a 75-day challenge, a lot of these things you're going to continue to do after you get used to them. You might not look at the market twice a day, but you're probably going to look at it every morning or whatever your time you normally look at it. And maybe you keep tracking your expenses, but a lot of these things you're going to keep doing. You're just going to get in the habit of doing them, and it's just going to continue.
Nice.
So as long as you're serious about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The other thing that was important to me is it's absolutely 100% free. And frankly, it's going to reduce the amount of emails and chats that I get, right? I get so many people saying, hey, I'm excited. I want to do this. I want to do that. Can I take you to coffee, take you to lunch? And, usually my answer is, if you buy my course, you'll be in the private Facebook group. We'll meet there. But I don't feel good about that because not everybody has $200. So I'm like, I got to create something free. Let's create the 75-day hard challenge. And now I tell people, you know what? If you want an hour of my time, go complete the 75-day hard challenge. And it's amazing how many people say yes. And then by day 5 or 6, they are sending me an email creating this or that excuse.
Right.
So it's good for me. I talk to less people.
Yeah, you filter out the people that are serious and not serious.
Yeah. So I'm curious, by what day did it feel like a habit?
It was probably a good 4 or 5 weeks in.
Okay.
It was about 4 weeks in when I started to every Sunday, starting to set up my contacts, my networking, people I wanted to network with. That's when it made it really easy, because I usually would do that. I have a 30-minute lunch break at work, so I would try to call or email or text on my lunch break and get that knocked out of my lunch break. Right. And if I did not contact them on my lunch break, then I could do that after work.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's what's the biggest thing that made it easier and flowed way better after that. So It was about a month in, 5 weeks in, when I really made it kind of just happen. It's just happening now.
Yeah.
So.
And then the other one I want to put out there, because I've got a couple of notes from people that are actually in bigger markets. So this will be funny. How easy is it to read 30 minutes a day? Or it's 30 minutes a day about your market.
It isn't. But
I would guess not.
I mean, it's not too easy, just because I have a small market. I'll read a lot about, like, the colleges. We have Lorain County Community College, which is a huge college.
There you go.
And with a lot of stuff going online, I'm kind of curious to how that's going to work. So that area, some people will go and live in that area, even though it's a community college, and the apartments or houses in that area.
Yeah.
So I'll read a lot on, like, certain businesses and what they're doing, rather than just like going to Google and typing in Lorain County, Elyria, or Lorain real estate.
Right.
I kind of have to pick and choose and see what else out there that could tie into real estate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And again, I'm giving you kudos for that. Cause again, we're talking 50, 60,000 people. Folks, if you're in Seattle or Dallas or, you know, you got a million people, stop telling me you can't find 30 minutes. Get creative. If Paul can do it in a small town like that or a small city, you can too. So stop your whining.
And look at this, like, I mean, compared to the whole entire state, Lorraine's the 10th biggest city in my state.
Yeah.
And it's only 64,000 people.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, I want to thank you for this. Remember to send me the link for your YouTube site. I will add it to the description. Any closing comments? I guess, are you going to finish? That's the big one.
Oh, I'm definitely finishing. And most of this I will continue after. It just becomes second nature. It keeps me keen on my market. So, yeah, I'm liking what it's doing already. Like I said, I'm more confident. I made a couple offers recently just because I saw it pop up and it was that day. I went to see a house that day and didn't get it, but made the offer.
That's all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, what does the challenge do? It builds confidence. It lets you make an offer that you know is good, and you walk away if you don't get it. It's fine.
Yeah.
There'll be another one.
Yep.
Yeah. Paul, well, thank you very much for this. Reach out to me when you're done. We'll do another one of these. Congrats on being first. I don't think anybody is 42 days in yet. So you're leading the pack.
Okay. I started this a couple weeks after you even put the information out too. So I'm surprised that nobody else got done it right away.
Well, there are other people that got on it right away, but let's just say, at least as I'm checking, they didn't continue. Lots of people start the challenge. Not many people finish because it's hard, right? It takes 3 to 4 weeks to figure it out. So congratulations.
Yeah. And I put that all on Instagram every single week. I put my goals, what my hardest point was, just to keep up. And some people have contacted me about it, and it keeps me accountable as well. So by putting out the information, it helps keep yourself accountable.
Oh man, that's awesome, Paul. Well, good luck. Let me know when you're done, and let me know if you get a deal. I'd love to hear from you.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Michael.